Hashtag the Forbidden Weapon Discovery. First part. Marcuschen had seen plenty of dead ships floating in the void, but this one felt different. The massive alien vessel drifted silently through the asteroid field of Kepler 442, its hull scarred by weapons fire and time. Most salvagers would have passed it by. The ship's design was unfamiliar, and unknown alien tech often meant more trouble than profit. But Marcus wasn't most salvagers. He guided his small rescue ship, the Tin Can, closer to the Derelict. Through his cockpit window, he could see the alien vessel's true size. It was enormous, easily 3 times longer than any human battleship he'd ever seen. The hull was a deep purple-black metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange symbols were carved along its sides, glowing faintly with a sickly green light. "Computer, scan the vessel for life signs," Marcus said, settling into his pilot's seat. His weathered hands moved across the controls with practiced ease. At 42, he'd been salvaging wrecks for over 20 years, ever since he'd left the Earth Defense Force. "No life signs detected," the ship's AI replied in its calm, female voice. "However, I am reading significant energy signatures from within the vessel. The ship appears to be running on emergency power." Marcus frowned. A ship this old still having power was unusual, but not unheard of. Some alien races built their vessels to last millennia. What bothered him was something else entirely, a feeling in his gut that he'd learned to trust over the years. "What about the ship's database? Can you identify the species that built it?" "Negative. The design matches no known alien architecture in our databases. The material composition is also unfamiliar." That made Marcus pause. Humanity had been exploring space for over 2 centuries now. They'd made contact with dozens of alien species, traded with some, fought with others. The Galactic Council maintained detailed records of every known spacefaring civilization. For a ship to be completely unknown was almost impossible. Unless it was very, very old. Marcus activated his suit's environmental systems and prepared for boarding. His salvage suit was military grade, a leftover from his days as a combat engineer. It could handle most alien atmospheres and protect him from radiation, toxins, and small arms fire. Not that he expected to need the last one on a dead ship. The docking process was tricky. The alien vessel had no standard docking ports that his ship could connect to. Instead, Marcus had to use his suit's mag boots to walk across the hull until he found what looked like an airlock. The alien symbols around the door pulsed brighter as he approached, and, to his surprise, the airlock opened with a soft hiss. "Atmospheric composition is breathable for humans," his suit's computer announced. "Temperature is 21 degrees Celsius. Gravity is approximately 1.2 Earth normal." Marcus stepped inside, his helmet light cutting through the darkness. The airlock was surprisingly large, designed for beings much taller than humans. As the outer door sealed behind him, lights began to flicker on throughout the corridor beyond. The ship was definitely still alive, at least partially. The interior of the vessel was unlike anything Marcus had ever seen. The walls were smooth and organic-looking, almost like being inside some enormous creature. The lighting came from strips of the same green material that decorated the hull, casting everything in an eerie glow. The air smelled strange, not unpleasant, but definitely not human. Marcus activated his suit's recording system and began moving deeper into the ship. The corridors were wide and tall, confirming his suspicion about the size of the ship's builders. Strange alcoves lined the walls, filled with what might have been control panels or artwork. It was impossible to tell. "This place is giving me the creeps," Marcus muttered, more to hear his own voice than anything else. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the soft hum of the ship's emergency systems and the sound of his own breathing. He'd been exploring for about an hour when he found the first body. The alien was tall, easily 8 feet, with 4 arms and skin that looked like polished stone. It was wearing what might have been a uniform, though the material was unlike anything Marcus had seen. The being had been dead for a very long time. The body was perfectly preserved, but there was something about it that suggested age beyond measure. "Computer, scan this organism," Marcus said, kneeling beside the body. His suit's sensors worked for several minutes before responding. "Species unknown. DNA structure is unlike anything in our databases. Age of death cannot be determined due to preservation effects, but estimated to be at least 10,000 years old. 10,000 years. That would put this ship's destruction at around the time humanity was just learning to farm. Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's temperature. What kind of civilization had existed back then? And what had killed them? As he continued deeper into the ship, Marcus found more bodies. They were all the same species, and all preserved in the same impossible way. Some were at what looked like duty stations. Others appeared to have been running when they died. Whatever had happened to the ship had been sudden and violent. The ship's layout was gradually becoming clear to Marcus. He was in what seemed to be a military vessel, though it was unlike any design he'd seen. The corridors led to various sections, what might have been crew quarters, engineering areas, and what was clearly a massive bridge. But it was the lower levels that drew his attention. His suit's sensors detected massive energy readings coming from deep within the ship. The power signature was unlike anything in human technology, more sophisticated than even the most advanced alien races they'd encountered. Marcus found himself drawn toward the energy source like a moth to a flame. The corridors leading to the lower sections were different. The organic walls gave way to something that looked almost crystalline. The green lighting became brighter, pulsing in a rhythm that seemed almost alive. Marcus's radiation detectors started clicking, though not at dangerous levels yet. Warning, his suit's computer announced. Unknown energy field detected. Recommend caution. Marcus ignored the warning. Something was calling to him from the depths of the ship, though he couldn't explain what or why. His engineering mind was fascinated by the power readings. What kind of technology could still be running after 10,000 years? What could generate that much energy? He found the entrance to the restricted area almost by accident. What he'd thought was just another corridor turned out to be a hidden passage. The walls here were covered in warning symbols, though he couldn't read them. His suit's translation software was having no luck with the alien language. But, sometimes, the meaning of symbols transcends language. The skull-like images and radiation warnings were universal. Whatever lay beyond this point was dangerous. Marcus paused at the threshold. He'd found plenty of alien technology in his years of salvaging, but he'd always been careful. Dangerous alien tech had a way of killing curious humans. But the energy readings were so strong, so pure. His engineer's instincts told him this was something special. Something revolutionary. Against his better judgment, Marcus stepped through the entrance. The corridor beyond sloped downward sharply, leading to what could only be described as a vault. The walls were lined with the same crystalline material, but here it pulsed with an inner light that seemed to respond to his presence. The vault itself was enormous, easily the size of a football stadium. In the center sat a structure that defied description. It was part machine, part crystal, part something else entirely. Energy coursed through it in visible streams of light, feeding into a central core that hurt to look at directly. Marcus's radiation detectors went crazy, then, suddenly, stopped. His suit's computer began running diagnostics on itself, as if unsure of what it was detecting. The energy readings were off the charts, literally, his instruments couldn't measure whatever was being generated here. "Computer, what am I looking at?" Marcus asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Unknown. The energy signature does not match any known physics. Recommend immediate withdrawal." But Marcus couldn't leave. He was transfixed by the beauty and terror of the machine before him. As he watched, patterns began to emerge in the flowing energy. It was purposeful, controlled. This wasn't just a power source, it was a weapon. A weapon that could harness forces beyond human understanding. Moving closer despite his suit's protests, Marcus began to examine the control systems around the weapon. The interfaces were designed for the four-armed aliens, but the principles were becoming clear. This wasn't just a weapon, it was the weapon. Something so powerful it could crack planets, collapse stars, maybe even tear holes in space itself. No wonder the ship's builders were dead. No wonder this vessel had been drifting alone for 10,000 years. They'd built something that even they couldn't control. But Marcus was human, and humans had a gift for understanding technology, no matter how alien. As he studied the control systems, he began to see patterns. The mathematical principles underlying the weapon's operation were complex but not incomprehensible. With time and study, a human engineer might be able to figure out how it worked. Might even be able to build one. The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. This weapon could change everything. In the right hands, it could protect humanity from any threat. In the wrong hands, it could destroy everything humans had built among the stars. The Galactic Council maintained peace through careful balance. No single species was allowed to become too powerful. Advanced weapons technology was strictly regulated. If word of this discovery got out, every major power in the galaxy would want it. And they'd kill anyone who stood in their way. Marcus realized he was holding the most dangerous secret in the galaxy. His suit's communication system crackled to life, making him jump. Unknown vessel, this is Captain Sarah Reeves of the UES Intrepid. We've detected your ship near an unregistered derelict. Please respond. Marcus's blood went cold. The UES Intrepid was a Earth Defense Force cruiser, one of the newer models. What was it doing in this remote system? And how had they found him so quickly? This is Marcus Chen of the salvage vessel Tin Can, he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. I'm conducting routine salvage operations on an abandoned alien vessel. Copy that, Mr. Chen. We're conducting a survey mission in this system. Mind if we take a look at what you found? Marcus's mind raced. The EDF had been expanding their reach lately, claiming new systems for human settlement. But this was supposed to be neutral space. And something about Captain Reeves' tone suggested this wasn't a casual encounter. I haven't found much worth mentioning, Marcus lied. Just some basic salvage materials. Nothing that would interest the Defense Force. I'm sure you're right, Mr. Chen. But regulations require us to inspect all alien technology recovered in this sector. For security purposes, you understand. Marcus understood perfectly. The EDF wanted whatever he'd found, and they weren't going to take no for an answer. But they couldn't know about the weapon. Not yet. He needed time to think, to plan, to figure out what to do with his discovery. Of course, Captain. I'll begin preparing my findings for inspection. Give me a few hours to catalog everything properly. Actually, Mr. Chen, we're on a tight schedule. We'll be docking with your vessel in 30 minutes. Please prepare for immediate transfer of all recovered materials. The line went dead. Marcus stared at the weapon before him, his mind racing. 30 minutes. In 30 minutes, the most powerful weapon ever discovered would fall into the hands of the Earth Defense Force. And, knowing their leadership, it wouldn't stay secret for long. Marcus made his decision. If this weapon was going to change the balance of power in the galaxy, it wouldn't be because he'd handed it over to the first military force that showed up. He began studying the weapons systems more intently, looking for any way to safely remove or disable it. But, as he worked, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that his discovery of this ship hadn't been an accident. The timing was too convenient. The EDF's arrival too quick. Someone had known this ship was here. Someone had been waiting for it to be found. And, now Marcus Chen, a simple salvager who just wanted to make an honest living, was caught in the middle of something that could reshape the galaxy. The weapon pulsed brighter, as if responding to his thoughts. In its crystalline depths, Marcus thought he could see possibilities, futures where humanity stood triumphant among the stars, and others where everything he'd ever cared about burned in nuclear fire. He had 30 minutes to decide which future would come to pass. The tin can's proximity alarms began to sound, indicating the approach of another vessel. Marcus looked one last time at the forbidden weapon, then began the long journey back to his ship. Whatever happened next, he knew his life as a simple salvager was over. He just hoped the human race would survive what came after. #The forbidden weapon discovery. Second part. Marcus's hands moved faster than they ever had before. He had 20 minutes now, and the EDF cruiser was already visible as a bright dot against the stars. His salvage suit's computer was working overtime, downloading everything it could about the alien weapons control systems and power configurations. But downloading data wasn't enough. Marcus knew the weapon couldn't fall into anyone's hands unprepared. As he worked his way back through the alien ship's corridors, his engineer's mind was already forming a plan. It was risky, probably stupid, but it was the only way to buy time. The alien vessel's computer systems were still partially functional. Marcus had learned enough about their technology to access basic functions. If he could trigger a controlled power surge, make it look like the weapon had overloaded and destroyed itself, maybe the EDF would leave empty-handed. Back in the weapon chamber, Marcus connected his suit's interface cables to what he hoped was a primary control node. The alien symbols danced across his helmet display as his computer worked to translate the commands. Slowly, patterns began to emerge. The weapon wasn't just powerful, it was smart. The energy flows he'd seen weren't random. They were part of a complex AI system that controlled every aspect of the weapon's operation. And that AI was still active, watching him through sensors he hadn't even noticed. "Greetings, young species," a voice said inside his helmet. The words came through his suit's speakers, but they hadn't been transmitted from outside. The AI was speaking directly to his equipment. Marcus nearly jumped out of his skin. What are you?" "I am the Guardian, keeper of the Starbreaker weapon. For 10,000 of your years, I have waited for someone with the wisdom to find this place and the courage to enter." "Starbreaker? That's what this thing is called?" "An approximate translation. Your language lacks words for what this device truly represents. It is the culmination of my people's greatest achievement and their ultimate failure." Marcus's mind raced. An AI that had been active for 10,000 years, watching over the most dangerous weapon ever created. "What happened to your people?" "We became too proud. We thought ourselves ready for power that should never be wielded. The Starbreaker was meant to protect our empire from threats beyond imagination. Instead, it attracted the attention of those who would see all intelligence extinguished." "What kind of threats?" The AI paused, and Marcus could feel its attention focusing on him like the weight of centuries. "There are old things in the dark between galaxies. Things that have been hungry since before your son was born. The Starbreaker was built to fight them when they return. And they will return, young species. Sooner than you might think." Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's temperature. "If the weapon was meant to fight these things, why are your people dead?" "Because we were fools. We tested the Starbreaker against lesser threats, used it to conquer worlds and bend other species to our will. We forgot that power without wisdom is destruction. When the true enemy finally came, we were too corrupted to use the weapon properly. It destroyed us along with them." The implications of what the AI was telling him made Marcus's head spin. An ancient war fought with weapons that could break stars. Enemies from outside the galaxy. And now humanity was about to stumble into the middle of it. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I have studied your species since your first radio transmissions reached this sector. Humans have something my people lost, the ability to grow stronger through struggle rather than weaker through easy victories. You might be the ones capable of wielding this power wisely." "Might be" isn't exactly confidence-inspiring. "It is more hope than I have had in 10 millennia. Marcus's communicator crackled again. "Mr. Chen, this is Captain Reeves. We'll be docking in 10 minutes. I trust your cataloging is going well?" "Just finishing up, Captain," Marcus replied, his voice steady despite the chaos in his mind. "Though I should warn you, some of the alien tech seems unstable. I'm reading power fluctuations throughout the ship." "Copy that. We'll have our technical team standing by." Marcus turned back to the AI. "The Earth Defense Force is about to board this ship. If they find the Starbreaker, they will take it. Study it. Eventually learn to activate it. And your species will follow the same path as mind conquest, corruption, and ultimate destruction when the real enemy arrives." "So what do I do? Destroy it?" "The Starbreaker cannot be destroyed by conventional means. But it can be hidden. Moved. kept safe until your people are ready to face the truth about what waits in the darkness. How long do we have? The enemy moves between galaxies in cycles measured in geological time. But, your species' expansion into space has accelerated their interest. Perhaps 50 of your years before they arrive in force. 50 years. Marcus's daughter would still be alive when the real war began. His grandchildren would inherit a universe at war with things beyond imagination. Unless someone made the hard choices now. What do you need me to do? The AI's response came with a flood of data directly into Marcus's suit computer. Specifications, coordinates, technical requirements. The information was overwhelming, but the core message was clear. The Starbreaker could be moved, but only by someone who understood its true nature. It couldn't simply be taken apart and reassembled elsewhere. The weapon was as much energy as matter, existing partially outside normal space. Moving it required specific knowledge and technology that no human government currently possessed. But a single person, working in secret, might be able to do it. Especially if they had help. There are others, the AI explained. Humans who have encountered remnants of my people's technology. Most dismissed it as interesting but incomprehensible. A few understood that they had found something important. I have been watching them, waiting for the right moment. Marcus's suit display lit up with a list of names and locations. Scientists, engineers, even a few military personnel scattered across human space. All of them had found pieces of the puzzle, fragments of the same technology that had created the Starbreaker. You're talking about creating some kind of conspiracy. I am talking about saving your species. The docking clamps of the EDF cruiser echoed through the alien ship's hull. Marcus could hear the whine of cutting tools as the military team prepared to breach his ship's airlock. Time was up. If I do this, Marcus said, I'll be branded a traitor. They'll hunt me across the galaxy. Yes. But, your children will live to see the stars. Marcus made his choice. Working quickly with the AI's guidance, he began implementing the plan. The Starbreaker's energy matrix could be temporarily destabilized, making it appear that the weapon had suffered a catastrophic failure. The real weapon would be shifted into a pocket dimension, accessible only through specific coordinates and activation sequences that the AI would provide. But, the process required a living consciousness to guide it. The AI couldn't do it alone, it needed a human partner to provide the biological component necessary for the dimensional shift. This will change you, the AI warned as Marcus prepared the final sequence. You will become connected to the Starbreaker, able to sense its location and status. It will be part of you until the day you die. Will I still be human? More human than you have ever been. You will carry the hopes and fears of your entire species. Marcus initiated the sequence. Energy erupted through the chamber in controlled bursts, following patterns that seemed to bend reality itself. The Starbreaker began to fade, becoming translucent as it shifted between dimensions. Marcus felt something fundamental change inside him, as if a new sense had suddenly activated. He could feel the weapon's presence, not gone but hidden, waiting in a space between spaces for the day it would be needed. The chamber's lighting flickered and died. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red light. Marcus's radiation detectors screamed warnings about impossible energy signatures before going silent. Mr. Chen. Captain Reeves' voice was sharp with concern. We're reading massive power fluctuations from your location. Are you all right? I'm okay, Marcus gasped, surprised by how weak his voice sounded. The dimensional shift had taken more out of him than expected. But, you were right about the unstable tech. Something just blew out down here. Big time. We're sending a rescue team to your coordinates. Negative. The area isn't safe. I'm making my way back to my ship now. Marcus stumbled through the alien corridors, guided by his suit's navigation system and the strange new sense that told him exactly where the hidden Starbreaker was located. The AI's voice followed him, now coming from inside his own mind rather than through his suit speakers. The connection is established. I will remain with you, guiding and advising, until your people are ready to reclaim their guardian weapon. Guardian weapon?
What else would you call a tool meant to protect all intelligent life from extinction?
Marcus reached his ship to find 3 EDF Marines in full combat armor waiting for him. Their leader, a sergeant with the kind of scars that spoke of real combat experience, looked him over with professional suspicion.
Mr. Chen? Sergeant Morrison, EDF Marines. Captain Reeves sent us to escort you to the Intrepid for debriefing.
I understand, Sergeant. Though I should warn you, there's not much to report. Most of the alien tech appears to have been damaged in whatever destroyed the ship originally.
We'll let the experts make that determination, sir.
The boarding shuttle was cramped but efficient, designed to move personnel quickly between ships. As they approached the Intrepid, Marcus got his first good look at the cruiser. It was one of the newest designs, bristling with weapons and sensor arrays. The kind of ship the EDF sent when they expected trouble. Captain Sarah Reeves was waiting for him in the shuttle bay. She was younger than Marcus had expected, probably in her early 30s, with the kind of confident bearing that came from rapid promotion through the ranks. Her uniform bore decorations that suggested extensive combat experience despite her age.
Mr. Chen, welcome aboard the Intrepid. I appreciate your cooperation.
Happy to help, Captain. Though I'm afraid you've made a long trip for nothing. The alien ship was pretty thoroughly gutted. Captain Reeves smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes.
Why don't we let our specialists make that determination?
If you'll follow me, we have some questions about your salvage operation. The briefing room was sterile and uncomfortable, clearly designed for interrogations rather than casual conversations. Marcus found himself facing a panel of officers, including Captain Reeves and a civilian in an expensive suit who introduced himself as Dr. Harrison from something called the Alien Technology Division.
Mr. Chen, Dr. Harrison began, consulting a tablet. According to our records, you've been operating as an independent salvager for over 20 years.
In that time, you've discovered 17 alien vessels of various types and species. Your success rate is unusually high.
Marcus shrugged. I have good instincts about where to look.
Indeed. And your background as an EDF combat engineer gives you unique skills for understanding alien technology. I know which end of an alien plasma rifle will kill you, if that's what you mean.
Dr. Harrison wasn't amused.
Your military record shows extensive training in xenotechnology analysis and reverse engineering. You were part of the team that cracked the Zephyrian power core specifications.
That was a long time ago. 15 years.
Not so long that you'd have forgotten how to recognize significant alien technology when you see it. Marcus felt the weight of their attention like a physical thing. These people hadn't just stumbled across his salvage operation, they'd been watching him for years, waiting for him to find something worth taking.
What exactly are you suggesting, Doctor? Captain Reeves leaned forward. Mr. Chen, we know that alien vessel contains technology of immense value. Our long-range sensors detected energy signatures unlike anything in our databases.
The question is whether you're going to cooperate with us voluntarily or whether we'll need to take a more direct approach.
Are you threatening me, Captain? I'm explaining reality. That alien technology could represent a significant advance for human civilization.
The EDF has a responsibility to secure such discoveries for the safety and benefit of all humanity.
Marcus almost laughed.
The same speech politicians had been giving for centuries whenever they wanted to justify taking something that didn't belong to them. But the memory of the AI's warnings about humanity's future made the laughter die in his throat.
Captain, I've been through every accessible section of that ship.
Most of it was damaged beyond repair. What little functional tech I found wouldn't be worth the cost of your fuel to get here. Dr. Harrison activated his tablet's display, projecting a three-dimensional image into the air above the table. It was a schematic of the alien ship, showing energy readings from Marcus's visit. Mr. Chen, these readings show massive energy discharges from the lower sections of the vessel, areas our scans indicate you spent considerable time exploring. Energy discharges that occurred while you were present.
Marcus's blood went cold.
They'd been monitoring his every move inside the alien ship.
Those were overloads. Unstable power systems finally giving up after 10,000 years.
Perhaps. But our analysis suggests the energy patterns were too controlled, too purposeful to be random failures. It appears someone with extensive knowledge of xenotechnology deliberately triggered specific systems.
The trap was closing around him.
These people had been planning this operation for longer than Marcus had realized. But they still didn't know exactly what they were looking for, which meant he still had some room to maneuver.
Doctor, if I had found something that significant, don't you think I'd have reported it? I'm a legitimate businessman.
I have licensing agreements with 3 different governments and the Galactic Trade Authority.
Why would I risk all that for one discovery?
Because, Captain Reeves said quietly, that one discovery might be worth more than every other salvage find in human history combined. The room fell silent. Marcus felt the AI's presence in the back of his mind, calm and patient.
Whatever happened here, the Starbreaker was safe.
Hidden in its pocket dimension, it would wait until humanity was ready to face the truth about the universe. But Marcus was beginning to realize that his part in the story was far from over.
Captain, he said finally, if you're so sure there's something valuable on that ship, why don't you go find it yourself? I've downloaded all my survey data.
You're welcome to it. We intend to conduct our own investigation, Mr. Chen. But first, we need to understand exactly what you discovered and what you did with it.
Dr. Harrison touched another control on his tablet.
The briefing room's doors sealed with an audible click, and Marcus heard the distinctive hum of an isolation field activating.
Mr. Chen, you're now officially in protective custody pending a complete investigation of your activities.
For your own safety, of course.
Marcus looked around the room at the faces staring back at him.
Professional, determined, and completely convinced they were doing the right thing. They had no idea what forces they were meddling with or what their actions might unleash.
How long do you plan to keep me here?
As long as necessary, Captain Reeves replied.
Don't worry, Mr. Chen.
You'll be well cared for. And, when this is all over, if you've been cooperative, there might even be a substantial reward for your assistance. Marcus settled back in his chair, feeling the weight of the universe pressing down on him. Through his connection to the Starbreaker, he could sense the AI's ancient patience. 10,000 years of waiting had taught it that all things passed in time. The question was whether humanity would learn wisdom quickly enough to avoid the fate of the Starbreaker's builders. Outside the Intrepid's windows, the alien Derelict continued its silent drift through the asteroid field.
Soon it would be crawling with human technicians, desperately searching for secrets that were no longer there.
But the real secret was sitting in their briefing room, pretending to be just another salvager who'd gotten in over his head. And Marcus Chen was beginning to understand that his adventure was only just beginning. # The Forbidden Weapon Discovery. Third part. 3 days into his protective custody aboard the Intrepid, Marcus had learned several important things. First, the EDF was taking this operation very seriously. They'd assigned their best xenotechnology team to study the alien ship.
Second, they were getting increasingly frustrated with their lack of findings.
And, third, they were planning to use him as bait. The AI's voice in his mind had become a constant companion, offering commentary and guidance as Marcus navigated his captivity. Through their connection, he could feel the Starbreaker waiting in its hidden dimension, its massive power contained but ready. He could also sense something else, other artifacts of the ancient civilization, scattered across the galaxy like breadcrumbs waiting to be found. Mr. Chen, Dr. Harrison said as he entered the quarters where Marcus was being held, we need to discuss your future. Marcus looked up from the technical manual he'd been reading, a basic text on xenoarchaeology that barely scratched the surface of what he now knew about ancient alien technology. I wasn't aware I had one, Doctor. That depends entirely on your willingness to cooperate.
Our investigation of the alien vessel has been less productive than hoped.
Through the AI's knowledge, Marcus knew exactly what the EDF team had found: a ship full of preserved corpses, some interesting but harmless technology, and absolutely no sign of the weapon that had brought them here in the first place. They were starting to suspect they'd been played, but they couldn't figure out how. I told you the ship was mostly gutted.
Ancient alien tech doesn't age well.
Dr. Harrison sat across from Marcus, his expression carefully neutral. Mr. Chen, we know you found something significant in that ship.
Our sensors don't lie. The question is what you did with it. Maybe your sensors aren't as accurate as you think.
Perhaps.
Or perhaps you're more resourceful than we gave you credit for.
Dr. Harrison leaned forward.
We've been reviewing your service record more carefully. Your work on the Zephyrian Power Core project went far beyond simple reverse engineering. You actually improved on their design.
Marcus shrugged.
Humans are good at making things work better.
Indeed. Good enough, perhaps, to hide alien technology so thoroughly that even our best equipment can't find it. The conversation was interrupted by Captain Reeves entering the room, her expression grim.
Dr. Harrison, we need to talk. Now. Captain, I'm in the middle of an important discussion with Mr. Chen. The discussion can wait. We have a more immediate problem.
Marcus watched the exchange with interest. Something had changed, and, from the tension in the room, it wasn't good news for the EDF. Through his connection to the AI, he sensed a shift in the cosmic balance. Events set in motion by his discovery of the Starbreaker were beginning to unfold. Captain Reeves glanced at Marcus, then, back at Dr. Harrison.
Perhaps Mr. Chen should hear this.
It concerns him directly.
What's happened? Marcus asked.
We've received word that 3 other alien artifacts have been discovered in the past 48 hours. All of them by salvagers with connections to you. Marcus felt his heart skip a beat. The AI had mentioned others who'd found fragments of the ancient technology, but he hadn't expected them to act so quickly.
What kind of connections?
People you've worked with over the years. Former military colleagues.
Business associates.
Captain Reeves activated a wall display showing a star map with 3 systems highlighted in red. Jennifer Walsh found something in the Tau Ceti system.
David Park made a discovery near Proxima Centauri.
And Maria Santos uncovered an artifact in the Vega sector.
The names hit Marcus like physical blows.
Jenny, Dave, and Maria were more than just professional associates, they were friends. People he'd served with, people he trusted. If they were involved in this, it meant the situation was far more complex than the EDF realized. I haven't spoken to any of them in months, Marcus said, which was technically true. But, through the AI, he could feel their presence across the galaxy, each of them now connected to fragments of the same ancient network that had created the Starbreaker.
Mr. Chen, Dr. Harrison said slowly, would you care to explain how 3 of your former colleagues managed to make significant archaeological discoveries at exactly the same time you found your alien ship?
Marcus looked between the 2 officers, weighing his options. The AI's voice whispered in his mind, sharing knowledge that made everything clear. The discoveries weren't coincidences, they were responses to the Starbreaker's awakening. Ancient safeguards activating after 10,000 years of dormancy.
I can't explain it, Marcus said. But, maybe you should be asking a different question.
Such as? Such as why these discoveries are happening now, all at once.
What if they're connected to something bigger than just archaeological finds?
Captain Reeves and Dr. Harrison exchanged glances.
What do you mean?
The captain asked.
Marcus took a deep breath, knowing he was about to cross a line he couldn't uncross.
But, the AI's warnings about humanity's future echoed in his mind. Time was running out, and the truth needed to start coming to light.
What if the alien technology isn't just abandoned relics? What if it's some kind of early warning system? Warning about what? About what's coming.
The room fell silent. Marcus could feel both officers studying him, trying to determine if he was telling the truth or simply trying to distract them from their investigation. Dr. Harrison was the first to speak.
Mr. Chen, are you suggesting these artifacts are some kind of communication network? I'm suggesting that maybe we should stop thinking like scavengers and start thinking like xenoarchaeologists. What if these discoveries are meant to be found? What if someone or something wanted us to find them?
Captain Reeves activated her communicator.
Bridge, get me a connection to EDF command. Priority Alpha.
As she spoke quietly into her device, Dr. Harrison leaned closer to Marcus.
What aren't you telling us?
Marcus met his gaze steadily.
Doctor, what would you do if you learned that humanity was about to face a threat unlike anything we've ever encountered? A threat that requires technology and knowledge we don't possess? I'd want to know more about that threat. Even if learning about it meant admitting that everything we thought we knew about the galaxy was wrong? Before Dr. Harrison could respond, Captain Reeves finished her call and turned back to them. Command wants us to return to Earth immediately. They're convening an emergency session of the Defense Council. What about the alien ship? Dr. Harrison asked. A full archaeological team is being dispatched to continue the investigation. Our orders are to bring Mr. Chen and all recovered materials back to Sol System for comprehensive analysis. Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's environmental systems. If the EDF was calling an emergency defense council session, it meant they were taking the multiple discoveries very seriously indeed. And that meant his friends were probably in the same kind of protective custody he was experiencing. Captain, Marcus said, before we head back to Earth, there's something you need to know. Both officers turned to him with sharp attention. The alien technology we've found, it's not just advanced. It's ancient. Older than human civilization. And it was designed to activate under specific circumstances. What circumstances? Dr. Harrison demanded. Marcus closed his eyes, feeling the weight of the AI's 10,000-year vigil pressing down on him. When the galaxy faces extinction. The silence that followed was broken only by the soft hum of the ship's environmental systems. Marcus could see the disbelief and growing concern on both officers' faces. Mr. Chen, Captain Reeves said carefully, are you telling us that these artifacts are some kind of doomsday device? I'm telling you they're the opposite. They're a defense system. A weapon designed to protect all intelligent life from something that comes from outside our galaxy. Dr. Harrison was already activating his tablet, cross-referencing Marcus's words with xenoarchaeological databases. There's no evidence of any extragalactic threats in our historical records. Because the last time they came, there was no one left alive to keep records. The AI's voice whispered in Marcus's mind, sharing images of the war that had consumed the galaxy 10 millennia ago. Vast ships emerging from the darkness between galaxies, creatures of pure malevolence that fed on intelligence itself. The desperate alliance of a dozen spacefaring species, their combined technology barely sufficient to drive back the invaders. The species that built the ship I found, Marcus continued, they weren't the only ones fighting this threat. There was an alliance. Multiple species working together to build weapons capable of stopping an enemy that defied comprehension. And where are these other species now? Captain Reeves asked. Dead. All of them. The war against the external threat weakened them so much that they turned on each other afterward. The weapons that saved the galaxy from outside invasion eventually destroyed the civilizations that created them. Dr. Harrison was frantically taking notes on his tablet. Mr. Chen, these are extraordinary claims. Do you have any evidence to support them? Marcus smiled grimly. Doctor, in about 6 hours, we're going to receive a transmission from deep space. A signal that doesn't match any known stellar phenomenon. Your xenolinguistics department will spend weeks trying to decode it before realizing it's not a language at all. What is it? A probe. The first scout from the same force that destroyed the galaxy's last alliance. They're coming back, and they're bringing friends. Captain Reeves was already moving toward the door. I need to contact command immediately. Captain, Marcus called after her. When you talk to command, tell them to contact the other salvagers who made discoveries. Jenny Walsh, David Park, Maria Santos. They'll have pieces of the same puzzle I found. And tell them time is running out faster than anyone realizes. As the captain left, Dr. Harrison remained behind, studying Marcus with new intensity. Mr. Chen, assuming any of this is true, what exactly did you find on that alien ship? Marcus felt the AI's presence strengthening in his mind, sharing more knowledge, more understanding of the vast forces now set in motion. I found hope, Doctor. The last weapon of a dead civilization, hidden away for the day when the galaxy would need it again. Where is it? Safe. Hidden where it can't be misused or stolen. But accessible to those who understand what it really represents. And what does it represent? Marcus stood up,
feeling the weight of destiny settling around him like a mantle.
The difference between humanity's survival and its extinction.
Through the ship's windows, he could see the stars wheeling past as the Intrepid changed course for Earth. Somewhere among those points of light, ancient enemies were stirring in the void between galaxies. And, somewhere else, 3 other humans were discovering that they'd become guardians of humanity's future whether they wanted the job or not. The AI's voice spoke in his mind one final time as the ship prepared for its jump to hyperspace.
The awakening has begun, Marcus Chen. Your people have perhaps 50 years to prepare for what is coming. The Starbreaker will be ready when you need it. The question is whether humanity will be ready to wield it wisely. As the stars blurred into the familiar tunnel of hyperspace, Marcus closed his eyes and felt the weight of the galaxy's future pressing down on him. He was no longer just a salvager who'd stumbled across an ancient derelict. He was the keeper of humanity's most dangerous secret and its greatest hope. The journey back to Earth would take 3 days. In that time, Marcus would have to decide how much of the truth he could safely reveal and how much would have to remain hidden until humanity proved it could handle the responsibility. Because somewhere in the dark between the galaxies, ancient enemies were already beginning their journey home. And, this time, there would be no second chances for the defenders. The real war for the galaxy's survival was about to begin, and Marcus Chen had just become humanity's first soldier in a conflict that would determine whether intelligence itself survived in the universe. But that was a story for another day. For now, he sat in his quarters aboard a human warship, feeling the pulse of an impossible weapon hidden in dimensions beyond normal space, and wondered if the species he was trying to save deserved the sacrifice that would be required to protect them. Time would tell. Time always did. The Starbreaker waited in its hidden sanctuary, patient as the void between stars, ready to defend the galaxy one more time. And Marcus Chen, formerly just a simple salvager, began planning for humanity's education in the realities of a universe far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The game was afoot, and the stakes were nothing less than the survival of all intelligent life in the Milky Way.